Okay, this is a video that will show you how to replace the water pump on your Generation 4 Prius. A little bit of background info. 100-degree day here in South Carolina, and driving my Prius, and all of a sudden I get these warning messages like the ICS system failing, crash detection system failing, and so on and so forth. Eventually the hybrid system failing, and the only code that comes up with the scanner is the P261B water pump. And then I look on YouTube and find someone saying basically the same thing, the car going into a limp mode, and yeah, sounds like the right deal. So there's the pump down there. What I've found on Prius chat is, well, the spec is that you take the engine out, but that's crazy. So you can take off the motor mount or loosen it, actually loosen these two, and then there's one underneath. I guess this is probably technically called a guide bolt. So get these three, get that nut and two bolts out of there, and then support the motor, lower it down a couple inches, and remove the pump that way. So here we go. Okay, here's something that might save a person a lot of trouble. Is I found a few accounts of people saying, okay, drop the motor, lower it down a couple inches, and I was kind of figuring, oh, I'll slide it out in the wheel well, which didn't actually happen. I kind of slid the pump forward and kind of just worked it up, but it only needed like a tiny bit of clearance, and I think it's possible actually to take a big old crowbar and move the motor just a hair, because that's all it seemed to need, 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch maybe. So before you go through the whole process of trying to lower the motor with a jack stand, try this. And I would recommend a nice big crowbar like that, nice and like 3 feet long, stout. So one of the first steps is to remove this plug from your reservoir, and also the cap, so that you can drain your coolant properly, which, okay, so draining the radiator spec is you hook up a hose, which sounds really nice and clean. Got it running down in my pan here, and it attaches to this upper drain plug port thing. The lower one is for the inverter, and the hose is supposed to be 9mm. Good luck finding that. So I got a 3/8, which is 9.5mm, and put a pipe clamp on it, which that part's working great. Getting a little bit of leakage from around that valve though, but no biggie, catching it. Okay, so I decided to take off the cover over the radiator and take off the air intake port thing, just to get it out of the way, which didn't really help a lot, but I got this loose at least, and the screws on the pump are loose, and I got the mounting bolts loose, supported by a jack. Really like to have a bottle jack for this, but cross my fingers. And got the wheel removed, and this little plastic panel here removed. That's pretty easy to do. So now just got to lower this thing. Well, I've dropped it, looks like maybe a little over an inch, and the motor was kind of wanting to fall toward the outside a bit, so I jammed this piece of 1x in here to kind of try to keep it vertical. Hopefully it's a good move. I got a couple of the bolts out. The 3 upper ones are still in. So might be able to wiggle it out now, but I'm gonna see if I can drop it down a couple more, like another inch. So victory, well, halfway there, got it out. The 1x was actually really handy because I was able to lever the motor back a bit, because this little shaft just sticks out enough to catch in there. And so here it is, and it doesn't really want to turn very well. Here's the new one. Turns much easier, not like a bearing, but anyway. Okay, here's also the bolt layout. This is more or less up back of the car, so got 2 medium-ish bolts on the bottom, short one at the front, and then 2 longer ones back and top. So I decided to do a little further investigation and pulled the impeller out, and you can see like there's a little bits of plastic in there, and fish these out of the bottom. So definitely an indication of failure. This looks like it might be, I don't know, widened out maybe. I don't really want to take the new one apart just because, but I found a video on YouTube, a guy, I'll try and link to it, talking about replacing these, but no links. I found them on Amazon, but they were for the Gen 3 Prius. Yeah, if somebody finds an impeller for a Gen 4, you know, I think this would be a cheaper replacement, you know, like a $35 part instead of a $200 part. Okay, just to follow up here, got the new water pump installed. The car runs great. In the process though, I discovered that one of the holes, the bolt holes on, I guess this would be like the mount to timing chain cover block thing, manifold, whatever, was stripped out. So I had to tap it and put in a big fat M14, and a thread pitch you can find is 1.5. I found a 1.25 tap, but couldn't find a bolt for it, so that was kind of a hassle. Anyway, that's what that looks like.